Welcome into our Countdown to First Pitch interview series. Today I am joined by Phil Berry, head coach of Harding University softball. Coach, thanks for coming on with us today.
It's good to be with you, Michael.
Yeah, it's been awesome to talk to the coaches. Kind of missed the last year of all sorts of things. So let's go back real quick to March of 2020. What in the world was that like for you and your coaches and your players? Let's see. I think you guys were maybe getting ready to go on the road. Is that right?
That's correct.
What happened, and how did you go? Well, I know what happened, but how did y'all deal with all of that?
We were on spring break, so we were the only ones on campus. Everybody else had gone home, and obviously, as that week went along, we started hearing rumors that other conferences, particularly Division I sports, were shutting down, and so we were preparing to go on a trip to Oklahoma Baptist and working on weather days and changing the days we were going to play. And the day before we were going to take off, I started getting calls and seeing things online that stuff was happening, and we're practicing. So my players are watching me walk around and ignore them and stay on the phone all afternoon. And when practice is over, we just put them back in the locker room. And as we got in the locker room, we had to give them the news that their season was over and they were going to go back that night, pack up their dorm stuff, and head home. And not knowing if they were going to come back, which eventually they did not. And we sat in the locker room for about an hour and a half, and laughed some and cried some. And our athletic director, Jeff Morgan, came in and cried with us a little bit. And we just enjoyed the time together, celebrated the seniors who were there, not knowing at that point what their options were going to be or how that was going to play out, and sent them back at the end of the day, and they went home, and we didn't see them again until August.
Wow. There was that long. They were at home that long. Yeah. Well, did you try to do some Zoom calls and video calls and those things to stay in touch with them?
We did. We set up weekly Zoom calls at the beginning and then spaced that out a little bit more during the summertime. And the NCAA gave us the ability to work with them a little bit more on workouts and programming and that sort of thing. So we stayed in touch with them. We put them in accountability groups where they stayed in touch with each other. And they did a really, really good job of doing what they could at home because they were all in lockdown.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the gyms, and so we had them on body weight workouts they were doing in their garages and their driveways and that sort of thing. But they did a really good job of doing what they could, given the start. So proud of them. I think when this is all said and done, this time period, whatever it winds up being, will create some resilience and adaptability in everyone, but particularly our student athletes, that will benefit them so much down the road.
I would certainly hope so. I kind of seeing that where I'm at as well. So what does a veteran softball coach do with all of his time, who probably, if I had to guess, coach, you kind of have your routine and you like to do things in the same order. What did you do when you had all that free time?
Well, the first couple of weeks, I didn't know what to do because we're supposed to be in the middle of the season and you're not really ready to go recruiting, and there's no recruiting to be seen yet. And so it was dealing with the change. And so, we dug in the beginning hoping we'd come back, that we would somehow be able to finish the season, whether they extended it in the summer. We just held out hope for a little while. And then once the realization set in that season was over, we turned to recruiting, and then recruiting became a new landscape. You couldn't go in person. You had to figure out how to watch live streams and recruit much more. I've done more FaceTime and Zoom calls with recruits than I've ever done before. Trying to find a new way to get to know players and players that might come into your program in the future. So we did a lot of that. I still kind of stuck to a schedule of paperwork and office work during the early part of the week, and then I would be watching live streams. I had a system set up where I might have 6 different things going, depending on how many monitors I could get set up and how many iPads I could get connected at the same time, and trying to make sure I didn't miss something while I was trying to watch too many screens. But we kept recruiting and kept working. And then as you got to the middle of the summer, you started turning your thoughts toward the players coming back. and hopeful that they would be able to come back and you would have some method forward to be able to practice in the fall. And fortunately, that all happened, and we brought our students back, and we're able to have some sort of normal fall on the practice field.
Well, when you're recruiting via Zoom or whatever it was, this would have been a good setup for you in your office there with all those trophies behind you. Is this where you did some of the recruiting?
Not bad at all.
Okay, so you're talking about you're trying to focus on your players coming back, and I know that Briley, we get this right, Briley Faringa is coming back, and I know you're going to be counting on her. Let's talk about her, some of your returning players, and what your expectations are.
Well, we did have Briley as the only senior who elected to use the 5th year. Our other seniors either got married this summer or going on to graduate school and already had those plans in place. So the other 4 elected not to return, and we'll miss them. But Briley comes back in a key spot for us. She's been a starting catcher for us for the last 3 years, and really, really brings a lot of leadership. And in addition to her, we return our starters from the infield. We'll have some new faces in the outfield. We lost one pitcher in the circle who pitched for us quite a bit last year, but we also returned 3 or 4. So we're really excited about the returners who came in. And then this is one of our larger freshman classes that came in this year. And between the freshmen who came in and a couple of our pitchers who we redshirted last year, we really like the mix of new players that's coming into the program. And I'll kind of go around the field a little bit and just kind of mention some names and some players. Behind the plate, Briley Faringa returns. Sarah Hudler returns, who has been there. And Sarah's really hitting the ball well this fall and challenging to get on the field. Chelsea Blankenship is a freshman, has come in and really swung the bat well, and we look for great things from her, not only behind the plate, but she can play some outfield for us. In the infield, Amanda Fields comes back. She's been a 3-year starter, kind of a middle of the lineup hitter at first base, and she's being pushed a little bit by some freshmen to keep her spot there. In the middle infield, Hannah Jones returns. Hannah Garrett returns. But they're being pushed as well. Over at third base, Nicole Shano, who was our DP last year, is kind of moving over to third base, really doing some good stuff there. And then Peyton Reynolds will give us some time over there as well. The outfield will have a new look. We graduated some players who had played a lot there in the last few years. And it looks like Maddie Fraley will step in and play some right field for us. We got a real battle in center field with Kendall Trammell, Mackenzie Chappell, and then Faith Wallace battling some there. And over in left field, Ashton Bryce, one of our freshmen who's really shined this fall, and Allison Hyatt are battling to win that spot. So there's a lot of competition going on, which is really, really good for a healthy program. And we have swung the bats really, really well this fall. And that kind of leaves me with what's going on in the circle. And we returned Jenna Hipp, who's been an all-conference level performer for us, and she'll lead our staff. Behind her, Lily Tansky got some innings last year and did really well. Emma Dwyer comes back. She's been a closer for us for the last couple of years, led the NCAA in all divisions and saves a couple of years ago. So we feel like we've got the makings of a really good staff, and we've got a lot of depth. We redshirted 2 of our freshmen last year, Megan Pistocachet and Jessica Bridges. They've both shown really well in the opportunities they've had in the fall and as we've gotten back early this spring. And then Abby Birch has come in as a true freshman and really, really looked good as well. And then Ashlyn Peterson comes in as a freshman first baseman pitcher, a lefty look, a little bit different. And we're excited about some of the things she can do. So we were talking at the end of practice yesterday. We're supposed to do a scrimmage on January the 30th, which will be the first time we've looked at somebody in another uniform since early March. So that was our message at the end of practice. 1 week from Saturday, we finally get somebody in the opposite dugout in a different color uniform.
Well, Coach, nobody could argue that you know your players and you're excited about them. That was awesome to be able to run down the list like that. Forgive me for not knowing the NCAA recruiting timeline. I can't keep up with everything now. These new players that are coming in, were they already committed to Harding by the time this happened, or were these players you picked up throughout the summer?
In our case, our recruiting class that came in this past fall had committed to us pretty early. When they went through the recruiting process was kind of the last of the real early recruiting before the Division I rules were changed. So most of them had committed to us fairly early, during their sophomore years and that sort of thing. And obviously with the rule changes, things are getting to where recruiting is back to the way it used to be, where it was a little bit later and you're focusing more on juniors and seniors. But this group was committed to us for a long time, and we've been looking forward to getting them on campus for that entire period of time.
Okay. And then lastly, Coach, the schedule, I know that we've knocked down from a 4-game series to a 3-game, but the goal is that everybody can still play everybody, hopefully. So are you and the players excited about that to keep your fingers crossed and hopefully get a full season in against every team?
Yeah, our goal, we talked about that again yesterday, is let's figure out a way we can play as many of those 44 games as possible. We're all anxiously watching what's going on with the basketball season that just started a couple of weeks ago, and they've obviously had to cancel some games. And so we're just talking about doing the things that we can do to control our bubble and try to play as many of those games as possible. And we're real excited. We open up in Huntsville on February 5th and play in the Charger Chill Out. We have not had the opportunity to play in that tournament previously. I know some of our other Arkansas schools have in the past, and we're going to face 4 Gulf South opponents over there that weekend, which will be a good test for us. Les Studeman over there scheduled us to play her on Saturday, so we know we'll have our hands full there. Then a couple of weeks later, we host our invitational where we're bringing in some MIAA schools, GLVC schools, and some GAC schools. So we're looking forward to that early season test to kind of figure out where we are and give some players an opportunity to perform under real competition. And then for the first time, we finally get to play 3-game series in conference, and we're excited about those opportunities and can't wait to get on the field and see the players and hopefully complete as much of a season as we can.
All right, Coach. Well, Coach Phil Berry, I appreciate the time and best of luck to Harding this year.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate y'all's coverage of our conference and all that y'all do for us.